call to order the meeting of the Jefferson County Commission. I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Katie Huffaker. Todd Kesperson.
Here.
Steve Douglas. David Galt.
Here.
Randy Baxley. Rita Music. Donnie Tabor.
Here.
John McGraw. Russell Turner. Tim Seals.
Here.
Sammy Solomon.
Here.
Robert Blevins.
Here, sir.
Gene Esslinger.
Here.
Randy Bales.
Here.
John Neal Scarlett.
Here.
Terry Dockery. Here. Robert Tucker.
Here.
Jimmy Carmichael.
Here.
David Seal.
Here.
Bob Beeler.
Here.
Barbara Sheets.
Here.
And just as a quick update, two quickies. I had a call from Katie Huffaker. She had taken her dad to a just standard doctor's appointment, and on their way back home from Johnson City, her mother passed out, and she's in the ER. So Katie obviously won't be here tonight. And then Randy Baxley, his mother passed away. I called him, and he said age 91 and lived a great life, and up to 3 months ago she was taking herself to get her hair done once a week on Friday. So anyway, they're celebrating her life tomorrow, receiving friends at 5 o'clock at Leadville Baptist in White Pine. And at this point I'll turn it over to Chaplain Donnie Tabor.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for another opportunity to come before you, Lord Jesus. We pray for Commissioner Baxley and his family, and Commissioner Huffaker and her family. Father, we pray that you'll be with them and your grace and mercy be upon them, Father. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this Thanksgiving season that you've allowed us to enjoy in Jefferson County, Father. There's so many people out there in our county, Lord, that are alone and hungry during this season, Father. And I pray that all Jefferson Countyans will look around and invite those people into their family for this day so that they too may know the love of Jesus Christ. Dear Heavenly Father, as we seek to do your bidding this evening, we pray that we can do it in such a way that will bring you honor and bring you glory. In your holy and precious name I pray. Amen.
Amen. And I'm going to ask David Seal, would you lead us in the pledge?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize in our attendance tonight, we have a couple Boy Scouts from Troop 77, Matthew Schaefer and Will Bolton. We're glad to have you all. Glad to have you all. They're attending for a communication merit badge. And it looks like we are all but overrun with citizen input forms. The ones without an item of concern, I'm trying to group these together a little bit. I'm going to start with some of these about EDA Chamber IDB, and we're going to...
And now I'm there first before that on the agenda.
You are, and I apologize for that, Tim. First up, we're going to have a legal update, and I'll just turn it over to Commissioner Tim Seals.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We got Clinton Little with us tonight somewhere in the audience. Commissioner Turner wanted an update on the lawsuit with Sean Wilmoth. I guess I can say his name. You come up to the podium, and Russell ain't here, but you can give the rest of us an update over here.
There we go.
Should this be an executive session?
No, our attorney said it didn't have to be.
All right.
We've been to a judge. We don't have to be in executive session for this, do we?
Not to my knowledge.
That's what I thought. I checked with Mr. Drennan, he didn't think so either.
Not to my knowledge.
Just give them a quick update on where we stand. I guess that's what Russell wanted.
Okay, sure. So my name's Clinton Little with the law offices of Eric Faust up in Knoxville. So May 5th, we filed suit against Sean Wilmoth, Priscilla Wilmoth, and Wilmoth Family Properties, doing business as Cedar Pond Farms, at the request of the zoning department. The allegations are that they're operating outside of the R1 zoning there because they're using the property as a public event forum or venue, which is it's not in accordance with the zoning. There's not much to say tonight other than we filed suit. We asked for a temporary injunction. We asked for a permanent injunction. We don't have a judge. We filed that in Chancery Court, and Chancellor Forgetty recused. The defendants have hired Arthur Seymour Jr. out of France McConnell in Knoxville. They've answered the complaint, and that's where we are. In fact, I spoke with Chancellor Forgetty's office last week, and we're still waiting to see which direction we head with the judge there. That's the only update I've got right now. That's the next step. Really, nothing can happen until we get that judge, including the temporary injunction. Once we get a judge, hopefully we'll get that heard and proceed. But if anybody had any questions for me.
Thank you, Mr. Little.
Thank you.
Next is approval and corrections of the agenda. Seeing none, next I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes or correct them.
So moved.
And second by Commissioner Scarlett. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Next we move into appearance of citizens. And you will have 3 minutes to address the board. When your name's called, come to the podium. And I'm going to let you know who's going to be next so that you can kind of prepare for that as well. First up will be Luann Ballou. Ms. Ballou, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm Luann Ballou, and I'm running for Circuit Court Judge in the May 1st Republican primary. A Circuit Court judge presides over civil and criminal cases, including jury trials, in Jefferson County as well as Sevier, Granger, and Cocke counties. I have 10 years of judicial experience, during which time I served Jefferson County as our child support magistrate, as the former child support magistrate. I'm also experienced in civil and criminal litigation, including jury trials, from my time in private practice and as an assistant public defender. I graduated from Jefferson County High School, Carson Newman College, and UT Law School. I want to work for you as your next circuit court judge. And so I'm asking each of you for your support and your vote to elect me to serve you as your next circuit court judge. I'm Luann Ballou, and I thank you for letting me speak tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Ballou. Next, we're going to have David Gerard, and he's going to be followed by Steve McSmith.
I'm going to hand these out if you'll pass them around. This is an editorial that appeared in the Knoxville paper about 2 weeks ago. I appreciated Commissioner Tabor's prayer, but I would encourage you and also exhort you that you look at these elderly not just on Thanksgiving Day. We have a severe problem in Jefferson County,
And I pray that none of you are faced with this, but I can guarantee you that there are people in your district who are. If you talk to Joan Bolden, who's our Director of Senior Services, you'll hear some of the horror stories. We have a number of people in this county who are trying to live on $800 to $1,200 a month and $16 in food stamps. They have to make a choice between getting medicine or getting food. They have to make a choice between those things or paying their utility bills. If they happen to own their own property, they have to make a choice between property tax, all of the other expenses that go along with owning their own homes. These are people who, for no reason other than they're caught in circumstances that they never planned on, are in this situation. They've worked all their lives. Many of them you're never going to hear about because they're too proud or actually too ashamed to admit that this is the situation they're in. And there are some serious things that you can do that are very simple to help these people. And I wish you would encourage yourselves and think about it, that therefore the grace of God go you. One of the things I wish you would consider is freezing property tax on certain individuals who fall into a category based on a means test after a certain age. In other words, let's say 70 years old and they have an annual income of, say, $12,000. And believe me, you have a number of people in this county that fall into that situation. And so they have a choice between losing their homes or going to nursing homes or these kinds of situations. And it's a dire situation for a number of these people. If you talk to Joan, and I wish you would, you'll find out just how serious this problem is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gerard. Next, we will have Steve McSmith, followed by Melissa Piegler.
I'm Steve McSmith. I live at 3766 Island View Road, Sevierville, Tennessee, 37876 in the Parrots Chapel community. One of my all-time favorite movie lines is from the 1967 movie Cool Hand Luke, starring Paul Newman. In a classic scene with Strother Martin, Martin says, "What we've got here is failure to communicate." And that succinctly sums up our current situation. Parrots Chapel community, zip code 37876, contributes its duly assessed tax revenue to this county's coffers, but receives inequitable, anemic services in return. The result is woefully inadequate infrastructure, lack of reliable emergency services, shortcomings in student transportation capabilities, and a general failure to provide what most Americans consider to be minimal, deserved government services. We do not consider ourselves special or more deserving than every other citizen in Jefferson County. We do believe that we deserve our fair share. And even though some of members of your commission, the county mayor, the road superintendent, and other county officials agree with and support our plea for parity, the majority of your body continue to hide their heads in the sand and apparently hope that if you ignore us long enough, we'll give up and go away. We're not going away. Your illogical and sometimes absurd responses to our requests are shameful at best, and your refusal to address bona fide inadequacies in services provided is a failure to fulfill your obligations to the electorate of Jefferson County. What we have requested to date is authentic and rational. We are realistic in our expectations. Through the past 6 to 8 years, Jefferson County has spent at least $56 million on capital and renovation capital projects on the north side of Douglas Lake, but a big fat zero in District 8 south of the lake. Those projects include the Mount Orb Elementary School, $10 million, the Freshman Academy, $16 million, the Jefferson County High School renovation, $26 million, and the White Pine School, which is still under construction, $4 million. None of those projects directly affect the south of the lake community. We're tired of being treated as, at best, second-class citizens. Some of your comments in past meetings have completely missed the mark. Expressed concerns about huge sums of money that might be required to access data already available, needing only to be accessed and copied, are nonsensical. Wild statements based only on illogical assumption and speculation should not provide a basis for voting to avoid reasonable fact-finding for the sake of understanding dollars saved by abolishing services, the actual status of the balance of revenue versus cost. It's possible that dollars saved by abolishing services to the Parrots Chapel community area might actually outweigh the tax revenue lost. Mayor Palmieri reported last week that our roads need $1.5 million invested for upgrades, while the tax revenue collected from our 832
Mr.
property
Smith.
parcels total only $800,000 to $1 million.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Next is Melissa Piegler, followed by Elizabeth Fincham.
Thank you. Melissa Pegler, I'm the town administrator for the town of Dandridge and a Jefferson County resident. So tonight I'm here as a Jefferson County citizen and the town administrator to express my concerns regarding the proposals made to move funding from EDA to the Industrial Board, as well as the open records requirements for the Chamber of Commerce. I'm representing several members of the Dandridge Board of Mayor and Aldermen that are in attendance tonight as well. I have two very specific issues regarding these proposals, both of which I deal with on a regular basis. The first is regarding tourism and our fishing tournaments. As most of you know, fishing tournaments have positively impacted the county and the town's finances. These tournaments bring in fishermen that not only support our businesses, but contribute to our occupancy tax that both the county and city receive, and the sales tax that we both receive from their support of our local restaurants, gas stations, etc. In order to host one of these tournaments, we make a sealed bid to provide services and typically a cash payment to sponsor the event. These agencies require that we sign a confidential contract. Obviously, as the town, I can't sign a confidential contract like that. The agency does not want the competing communities to know what we are offering. I've personally had other lake communities in our region ask specifics to me personally on what we bid so that they could attempt to undercut our bid. This leaves us at an uncompetitive position. Currently, EDA can sign these contracts. This proposal obviously eliminates that ability. The second concern deals with the recruitment of retail or industrial prospects. It is standard practice for companies to request that a non-disclosure agreement must be signed prior to them seriously considering and investigating into a property in any community. Most communities have a group that can sign these and provide information to successfully recruit businesses. EDA currently can do that for us. If these proposals are approved, it will again put us in an uncompetitive position. I was fortunate enough to speak with Commissioner Seal regarding my concerns and asked if he had any proposed solutions to these specific problems. He did mention that a private citizen or company could contract to host the tournaments. I personally find that unrealistic and highly unlikely. It would also come with its own challenges, such as could the town still provide services such as fish care, facilities, and parking assistance to a private host? Commissioner Steele stated that his desire was open records at any cost, including economic development or jobs. I understand and appreciate his desire for transparency in government. However, in true democracy, we elect people of integrity that we as citizens trust to make decisions that are best for all of the community. As a citizen, I understand that this means I may not be involved in every decision, that sometimes it's better for the community, keeps my family safer, and oftentimes saves the taxpayer money for a level of confidentiality to be there. Please consider the consequences of this resolution.
Thank you, Ms. Pegler. Next is Elizabeth Fincham, followed by David Nelson.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Elizabeth Fincham. I live in Sweet Gum Bend, Strawberry Plains. I've been here before, spoken about several issues, and I looked back at my notes from 2014, and gee, I'm talking about the same thing that I talked about back then, and we talked about several years before, and that's the chamber. And I'm in support of making the chamber accountable, having open meetings and open records. And that's the way it is. I mean, because we didn't have this to begin with is why The debacle of the intermodal and the mega site happened. We don't want to go backwards. We want to go forwards. I also am in support of increasing the duties of the IDB. Let's bring it together. That is our county organization that has been charged with developing industry. Let them do retail. Let them give them whatever they need to do what they need to do. I also want to thank you for prayer. And I want to thank you for the Pledge of Allegiance, because there are many entities in this country that have stopped that. So please, I hope that will continue. And the last thing I have to say is every county commissioner, and actually every county employee, needs a government email so that we can communicate you en masse. It's very hard for me to make a phone call to every person here about issues. I have emailed Mr. Tucker. I have emailed Mr. Blevins, Mr. Seal. I need emails for every person. School system has you beat. I had an email. Every assistant has an email. Every person in the school system has an email. Every county commissioner should as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fincham. Next is David Nelson, followed by Annette Loy.
I'm David Nelson, and I live in Strawberry Plains for about the past 3.5 years. I've been a property owner here for several more years. Commissioners, tonight you have the opportunity to vote on 2 resolutions about economic development. As a resident and taxpayer, I am continually concerned that our economic development train is off track. In my experience as a property owner in this county over the past decade, I do not see that any new economic development projects have been successfully completed by our Industrial Development Board. Plus, I have seen taxpayers spend thousands of dollars in their personal funds to fight unwanted development projects. The resolutions tonight are brought by a commissioner who shares my opinion that change is needed. These resolutions are yet another effort to put our economic development train back on track. Commissioners, as you contemplate these resolutions, I will ask that you carefully consider the system now in place. County Commission provides significant funding annually to EDA, an organization over which Commission has no control. Plus, EDA also accepts private anonymous contributions. More specifically, for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2016, EDA received $288,000 in government funding, and it received $172,000 in private funding. So let's compare those numbers to another entity close by, the Development Corporation of Knox County. For its fiscal year ending June 30, 2016, the Knox County Development Corporation received $1,070,000 in government funding. It received no private funding. None. Conversely, during numerous recent fiscal years, County Commission has provided no funding to the IDB, an entity over which you do have control. I want to leave you with this thought. There is an appearance of conflict of interest when mixing public and private funds within EDA. It leaves the appearance that private contributors control how almost $300,000 in Jefferson County taxpayer money is being spent. For whose benefit is EDA spending my tax dollars? Is it for the benefit of Jefferson County or the benefit of private contributors?
Thank you, sir. Next is Annette Loy, followed by Heidi Adams.
Good evening. I'm Annette Loy. I'm a resident of the 6th District. I live in Sweet Gum Bend. This has been a very disappointing week. I came here last Monday, and the thing that struck me most was the resounding silence of pretty much everybody on everything that was presented. I attended the IDB board meeting on Friday morning. Several days later, I was struck by the attitude that was pretty much pervasive in that body of we cannot do anything different. We cannot do this, we cannot do that, we cannot change this, we cannot change that. We don't know what we would do. We don't know. I went home and I got out all of the committee lists of committees, all of the boards, all of the commissions, for the last several years, and I looked at them. And you know, I saw the same names over and over again. It's like we've got musical chairs sort of going on, and it's like nobody really knows what to do, nor is anybody willing to do anything different. Folks, the things we've been doing for the last 10 years for economic development, for all kinds of other issues in our county are not working too well. That's why you're having lots of people come and talk to you and lots of people come to the meetings. You know, it seems we've got a closed society among the leadership in this county. And I think my experience this week really pointed that out to me. And when I looked at all those lists of people who are willing to serve, it was very apparent that we have that. It reminds me of a quote from a very famous book. I recommend all of you read it. It's called Animal Farm. All the animals are equal, except some are more equal than others. It's time for somebody, somewhere, to stand up and lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Loy. Next is Heidi Adams. She'll be followed by Joe James.
Good evening. I'm a business development consultant, and Sid Fannin hired me to help him in his efforts to build a business at his farm in White Pine. The business model is being developed under the protection and guidance of the Tennessee Right to Farm Act. The 5-year plan is to use a portion of his property for a venue that can accommodate weddings, corporate events, private parties, public events such as Mexican and American rodeos and festivals. The strategy is to build this business slowly and conservatively, and as there is currently limited infrastructure in place, initial efforts had originally been focused on Mexican festivals and renting the facility for private parties. At each event, he has made sure that the business operated within the letter of the law. He's been cognizant of the sale of beer and implemented strict rules to ensure that there was no alcohol sold to minors. During each event, he paid to have sheriff's deputies present to deter any unwanted behavior. As I said, we've been diligent in our efforts to make certain that the business operates within the law. In doing so, we may have failed to acknowledge one very important aspect of this business, and that's the human factor. It has never been the intention to alienate the White Pine community. Quite the contrary, the goal is to give back and embrace the community by creating partnerships with other local businesses. We want the community and the commissioners to know that we've heard you, and we've taken steps to adjust the business model accordingly. Sid is a man of great integrity, and as promised, at this time, private parties have been discontinued. He's relocating the arena to a low-lying area in the far northwest corner of the property, which is almost 3,500 feet from the road as the crow flies. This should help with noise concerns. During events, the entrance to the property will be more visibly marked to avoid confusion. At the last commission meeting, it was quite troublesome to hear the sheriff mention numerous DUI arrests that resulted from the private party on October 14th. Sid takes the responsibility that comes with the beer permit very seriously, and these allegations were disturbing to us. I personally went to the Justice Center last Thursday to try to meet with the sheriff so I could understand all the facts. He was not available and didn't have time to return my call prior to this meeting. However, his staff was extremely accommodating. I learned that there were 7 DUI arrests countywide the weekend of October 13th through 15th, and based upon the information provided to me, only 1 DUI arrest was even remotely close to the farm. While Sid certainly does not wish to be associated with even 1 DUI, it was comforting to find that most of the traffic stops that the sheriff referred to ended up being citations for driving without a license or other less serious infractions. Thank you for your time this evening. I hope we've addressed your concerns, and I'd be happy to address any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Next is Joe James, followed by Anthony Kimbrough.
I'm here to speak on behalf of this event because what I've seen and heard from has been nothing but the other way around, people running it down. This has, in my opinion, has to do with a whole lot of people that don't know or even try to know or try to understand another group of people. My first encounter with people, Mexican people, was in Middle Tennessee when I was 21 years old, and I moved to a farm that's 5,000 acres. And there was no Mexicans in this area, and they had them hired to work on it. The man that they had over them was from Pulaski, Tennessee, and Lewisburg is the next town above it. He was a proud member of the KKK because that's the home base of it. That was a disaster with them working for him. They ended up taking them out and had them to go to work for me. I found out that you could find no more honest and better people. Those kids sent half of what they made home to take care of their folks. Better than we were doing. The second time I ran into it was here. I rented a piece of equipment from a contractor and made a deal with him that he would said if I could pay him in cash for it. When I called him up and said I have some money that's available for you, he told me take it to my farm, give it to this Mexican in a bag and tell him to give boss man. I said, do you understand this is a sum of cash money? I certainly do. He never once asked me how much was in the bag. Give it to him. The third time, I went to Mexico City to do a project for a company. I was a minority. I could not have been treated better by people. Now, on with this. Without these people, our country, as you know, would not be eating a whole lot of food. There's a lot of jobs that would not be done today in the construction industry or the manufacturing industry, the dirty jobs. I do wish it was like it used to be, where American people were proud to work and were good at what they did, but I don't know the answer to get it back to that. Now, with what this event, I have been to every one of these events. I have not seen one person out of line. It is a family event. It's very interesting to watch. There is even a friend of mine that came to that, and she's a very attractive lady. She rode down to the building and back on the wagon that they provide, and I asked her, did anybody treat you or say anything out of line? Absolutely not, was her response. Now, I will have to say with the noise, anytime you're on top of the hill, it should help with it to go down in the holler. I will agree with that. I have heard some of them say about the trash.
Thank you, Mr. James.
Thank you.
Next is Anthony Kimbrough, followed by Gina Griffin.
Hi, my name's Anthony Kimbrough. I live over on Lead Mine Road in White Pine. They would have you believe that this is about Mexicans. I have two cousins, close cousins, that are married to Mexicans. Greatest people you'll ever meet. This has nothing to do with that. What it does have to do with is, if you'll remember the last meeting that I was down here, Sid said, no more parties. Well, which parties is he talking about? These private parties? He mentions he has to have beer because of tradition, the tradition of the rodeo. Also, if you look it up, one of the traditions of the rodeo is the after rodeo party, and that's when it gets extremely loud. Then you have, I mean, there's certain things like children's events, they're going to have children. Whether it's, I don't care what color the kids are, I don't care where the kids are from. When you have an outing, when you have children, and you have alcohol with unmetered, that goes unmetered, he'd like for you to believe, well, restaurants sell out, beer, so that's fine. Well, restaurants, no matter what restaurant you go in, you're going to see that they have a protocol so that somebody doesn't come intoxicated and, cause some type of harm to them or their other customers. So that's one point right there. Also, the louder the music, I wondered why it kept going up and down. The longer the bull ride, the louder the band plays. And they do that to get the crowd more going. DUIs. The sheriff can tell you, we watched them pull over that night, a bunch of people. They worked their butts off. And he even come up here and said, that they feared for the safety of him and his deputies. And that's not got nothing to do again with Mexican, American, whatever. That has to do with alcohol. We all get a little bit braver with alcohol. Now, as far as where the event's held, you've got two possible ways to get in from 25. One way is 2.1 miles of back road, curvy road. The other way is 3 miles. And during that 3-mile stretch, you're going to go by where you go into the entrance of Bainbury, which is also a dangerous intersection, as well as the 25 intersection. Coming from Highway 113, you can come down from 113 on the lead mine and come down straight to it. It's going to be 2.1 miles. It's a curvy road in sections, and it's got a hill. And I know because I own the farm that belongs there. The other way is to come 2.1 miles, again, narrow, curvy road. All these roads are unlit. And the other one is 2.1 miles if you come down 9. So the thing is, they have events like this where traffic can be flowed, where it can ebb and flow in a safe manner. This is not the case here.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you.
Next is Gina Griffin, followed by Jeff Coggins.
Hi, Gina Griffin, representing myself and my husband, Butch Griffin. We live on Highway 113 behind Sid Fannin. And I know people spoke at the last meeting that live across from him. You should live behind it. And he's moved it back a little to maybe make people happy in front. We live in back, and so the last one was extremely loud for us, not to mention the huge, bright, massive lights on the poles. And I think one thing that people don't understand is how big these events are. Okay, I can count 4 porta potties from my backyard. You usually run one porta potty for 100 people. These are not a community event where you bring your chair and attend, and there's a small rodeo. We're talking huge stands that rotate around the place. 300 to 500 people is my good guess, and I'm sure he can fill you in more on that. If you look at his Facebook page for this event, it is called a concert venue. It is advertised on radio stations, okay, in various counties, not just ours, several counties. Tickets are sold at least 3 or more counties to this. On television, Latino television, there's spots and big and all this. And okay, then there's pictures of the massive, this isn't cases of beer, okay, out of the back of trucks or something. The huge Coors Light pulls up. The Coors Light truck pulls up, full open, party time is what it says. You should check out the Facebook pages. This is massive. This does not belong in a rural community. I have nothing against rodeos. I have nothing against beer. These events are too big. We moved from 30 years in Knoxville out to here just over a year ago for the quiet countryside, to have a little land, quiet countryside. My daughter thought about getting married in our backyard. Thank God she didn't, because she got married last September 23rd, and it was so loud in our backyard, she couldn't have held a wedding, a small wedding in our backyard. This is big. This does not belong in a quiet rural area. It's wonderful maybe, and I don't care if they're people with purple people with pink polka dots. I don't care what the people are. I have Mexicans, Latinos, Italians, I don't care. It's just, this is a big event with a lot of drinking. We don't have Lyfts and Ubers and taxis out here for all those people drinking to try to get on these dark back roads away from this. And it's just not the area for it, you know? So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next is Jeff Coggins, who will conclude the citizen input portion tonight.
Jeff Coggins, 650 Rains Way. I don't really think she could have said it any better. We've got a little bit of a neighborhood watch out there among few of us. I just moved here in Jefferson County 2 years ago and bought my mother-in-law's property. I don't have anything against Sid having a business. I don't think anybody in this room does. I mean, that's what we need. We need tax money. We need businesses. But you guys need to set hours on this. if you're thinking about issuing another license, then fine. But you need to get out there with us on that corner of Leadville and Lead Mine Road, ride around with us. She just said it all. It's not, and I understand this lady's started working for him to show that he's going to substantiate a business there. But I'm going to tell you folks something. I've been here 2 years, and I'm about this close to selling because I'm not going to put up with it. I'm a 20-year retired police officer out of St. Louis. It's verifiable. I think Bud can check that out. I'm out there riding around. It's not about Mexicans. It's not about the parties. It's about hours, traffic, and I think my brother-in-law can tell you there's been several people killed at Lead Mine and Leadville Road. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have approval of notaries and bonds, and one notary has been added. That's in your packet. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and second. All those in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have Mayor Alan Palmieri. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, Commission, I have a number of appointments that need to be made. They basically are just reappointing the same individuals that have been serving, with a couple of exceptions. First one will be the Ethics Committee. This was mandated by the state of Tennessee 12 years ago. It was a new committee, and each year it changes at September. The personnel has changed. The individuals that I am appointing to the Ethics Committee, based on your confirmation, are the following county commissioners: Bob Beeler, Todd Kesterson, David Galt, Sammy Solomon, and Charles Tipton. I'd request confirmation be provided.
A motion to accept?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Tabor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
The next is a Planning Commission. There are no new appointees. These are the same individuals that have served. The individuals that are being reappointed are Sue Springfield, Tommy Lakin, Terry Renault, and Condon Batson.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Tabor. Second? Solomon. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
The third is the Jefferson Memorial Hospital Oversight Board. Bill Newman has served in that capacity for a number of years, and I'd like to reappoint Bill. He'll stay on that board.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Solomon, a second. Second by Kesterson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
The fourth one is the EMS Board. Raymond Ellis' term has expired. He has served for numerous years. I am reappointing him, and as our resolution states, the chairman of the county commission serves. So Commissioner Chair Robert Tucker will be on.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
By Solomon, second by Tim Seals. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
The other one is the nursing home. These individuals, Merle Jarnigan and Linda Franklin, have served for a number of years. Reappointing them. Mr. Rogers, E.M. Rogers from White Pine, his health has deteriorated and he's not able to serve the capacity that he would like to. So in his place, I'd like to appoint Carolyn Boyles.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
By Solomon, second. By Commissioner Bales. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
The last one, Mr. Chairman, is Sanitation Commission. 3 individuals, and they have served for numerous years, and they're just being reappointed. Larry Howard, Hoagie Snodgrass, and Bertie Jean French.
Do I hear a motion? A second? Second by Kesterson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Palmieri. Are there any questions for any elected officials? Are there any elected officials that would like to address the body? Any questions for the county attorney? Any questions for any of the department heads? Okay. From the finance director, we have a school resolution. It's for information only. That's in your packet. There's also another handout, the countywide summary financial statements. And then you also have handouts from the solid waste director and from the chamber. Next, we'll move into reports by committees, boards, and commissions. First being a report by Audit Committee Chair Gary Jett. I'll roll that for our next meeting. Next, Conservation Board Chairman Robert Tucker. We met tonight, had a successful meeting. We're moving forward with this park project and reiterating throughout the entire process that we're trying to do this with zero cost to the taxpayer. We worked out a lot of kinks with the engineers. ETED is helping us with grant applications, and we're on track. As those plans become more firmed up, we're still rough drafting and changing, trying to get it within a feasible budget where we can do it at zero impact. We'll start to present some of those blueprints and layouts to the commission. But that's all we have there. Next, we move to new business. Commissioner David Galt, you have the floor.
I move to accept the proposed schedule.
Yeah, we need a second. And that's for the schedule of meetings for commission. We have a motion and a second. Is there any opposed? Approved by acclamation. Next, we have a resolution by Finance Director Langdon Potts, County Resolution 2017-50, to amend Resolution 2015-37 with the TCRS hybrid resolution. You have a handout, and I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Kesterson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next, I'm going to turn the floor over to the Budget Committee Chairman, John L. Scarlett.
We have several budget amendments. General Fund 101, Amendment 5. It's insurance recovery. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Scarlett, does this require a roll call vote?
It does not.
Is there any opposition? Motion carried by acclamation.
Debt Service Fund, Amendment 2. This is, if you all remember, we refinanced general obligation bonds. This is moving the money in the right place. Is that correct, Mr. Langdon?
Yes, sir.
So move it, Mr. Chairman.
This one does or does not require a roll call?
We probably should take a roll call vote on this.
I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Todd Kesterson.
Yes.
Steve Douglas.
Yes.
David Galt.
Yes.
Donnie Tabor.
Yes.
Tim Seals.
Yes.
Sammy Solomon.
Yes.
Robert Blevins.
Yes, sir.
Gene Esslinger.
Yes.
Randy Bales.
Yes.
John Neal Scarlett.
Yes.
Terry Dockery.
Yes.
Robert Tucker.
Yes.
Jimmy Carmichael.
Yes.
David Seal.
Yes.
Bob Beeler.
Yes.
Barbara Sheets.
Yes.
Mr. Scarlett, you have the floor.
Landfill Fund 207, Amendment Number 2, insurance recovery on a 2002 Dodger pickup. So moved, Mr. Chairman. Does not require a roll call.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
We have General Purpose Fund 141, Amendment 6 and 7. If it's pleasure of the board, we can take them together. So moved, Mr. Chairman. Does not require roll call.
We are going to take 6 and 7 together. And all those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
General Purpose 141, Budget Amendment number 8. Impacts fund balance, requires roll call vote. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Todd Kesterson.
Yes.
Steve Douglas.
Yes.
David Gott.
Yes.
Donnie Tabor.
Yes.
Tim Seals.
Yes.
Sammy Solomon.
Yes.
Robert Blevins.
Yes, sir.
Gene Esslinger.
Yes.
Randy Bales.
Yes.
John Neal Scarlett.
Yes.
Terry Dockery.
Yes.
Robert Tucker.
Yes.
Jimmy Carmichael.
Yes.
David Seal.
Yes.
Bob Bigler.
Yes.
Barbara Sheets.
Yes.
General Purpose 141, Budget Amendment number 9. Does not require roll call. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
General Purpose 141, Budget Amendment number 10. This is for capital outlay at the baseball stadium repair, impacts their fund balance, requires roll call vote.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Todd Kesterson.
Yes.
Steve Douglas.
No.
David Gott.
Yes.
Donnie Tabor.
Yes.
Tim Seals.
Yes.
Sammy Solomon.
Yes.
Robert Blevins.
Yes, sir.
Gene Esslinger.
Yes.
Randy Bales.
Yes.
John Neal Scarlett.
Yes.
Terry Dockery.
Yes.
Robert Tucker.
Yes.
Jimmy Carmichael.
Yes.
David Seal.
Yes.
Bob Bigler.
Yes.
Barbara Sheets.
Yes.
15-1, the ayes have it.
Federal Purpose 142, Budget Amendment number 5. It's quite lengthy. It is federal funds. We cannot impact this. You've got 4 pages of it, Mr. Chairman, so move it. Title funds, moving to put grant funds where they belong. Is that correct, Mr. Lang?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
That is it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Scarlett. Oh, Mr. Scarlett, is there Food Service 143, or did we cover that one?
I don't have it. I don't think so. $143. It did not come before the Budget Committee. If you've got it in your package, it did not show up in the Budget Committee, so it's not been handled.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, Finance Committee recommendations. Chairman McGraw's absent. Is the Vice Chair going to make those recommendations?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Seal, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Resolution 53 is a 3-year general obligation note, capital outlay note, not to exceed $710,200. And it comes as a recommendation of the Finance Committee. I so move, Mr. Chairman.
It doesn't require a second. Does this need to go before the Budget Committee, or does that just go straight to us and through?
Comes as a recommendation of Finance.
The Budget Committee had, in your budget, if you remember, we already have the payments for this in there.
Okay.
It's already been passed. But I would like to speak to that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
The policies, we didn't address them back here, and I've had several calls concerning those policies, and several of them asking me to delay this in my district until they had a policy.
I've got a question, Mr. Scarlett. Is it is your statement in regard to the Finance Committee recommendation?
Yes.
Not to exceed $710,200?
Yes.
Okay.
My statement is that I have been asked by 7 people in my district to postpone this until they had a chance to speak to the sanitation board. Or if the sanitation director, if you all would entertain holding the meeting at a later time so that people could get there instead of 4 o'clock, so that they have a chance to speak to the new policies.
And I'll ask the Director of Sanitation, is this something that obviously the Finance Committee's looked at it, the Budget Committee's looked at it and approved it, Finance Committee's making the recommendation. Mr. Director Galt, is this something that you need to have handled in this meeting?
If it is not, the cost will go up because we won't bid again until after the first of the year, and prices will go up on a piece of equipment. So,
okay. The meetings are public. I'm sure you announce them publicly in the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and entertain a vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
no.
Show 3 opposed.
Abstain. No.
Let's do a roll call vote on this. And so that I'm sure what we're getting at here is this is something that let's see, so that I can understand, Director Potts, would you care to speak toward this? Because I think from what I understood, I was asking if it needed to go before Budget Committee, and you're saying it's already been before Budget Committee, it's approved, the payments are there, and then it's a recommendation from the Finance Committee as well. Is that right?
That's correct. In the budget, it was set up as a bond. This is asking for permission to do it through a interfund loan, which means we're borrowing it from ourselves.
So we're asking to borrow the money from ourselves.
Yes.
For this bond. Okay. And so what's your vote? I guess we'll do discussion. Commissioner Galt?
I would just argue that the two are unrelated. The policies are just that, policies. This is the purchase of a piece of equipment to operate the landfill. The policies can still be discussed in a sanitation committee meeting. It's almost as if you're trying to hold this ransom. That would be my argument.
Anyone else? Commissioner Beeler?
I'm worried here. If we're going to fix to take a vote, we got 5 people absent. I really think we need to put this off before we vote on it until we get more people here. You got to have 11 votes or it's killed. And we've only got 16 people here.
Is your, and what your objection is you want to postpone.
I didn't say that. Mr. Beaver just said postpone. I said I've had people ask me out of my district because they feel like they've not been heard. They've asked me, could this be postponed? Were we voting on it? And I said, yes, it could be.
Are they wanting to be heard about this interfund loan?
No, they're wanting to be heard about the policies.
They're not wanting to be heard about this issue that we're voting on.
I told you exactly, Mr. Chairman, what I have said.
Okay. And there's no motion to postpone, so I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll. You're voting on whether or not to allow them to borrow money from interfund, borrow for this outlay.
Todd Kesterson.
Yes.
Steve Douglas.
Yes.
David Galt.
Abstain.
Donnie Tabor.
No.
Tim Seals.
Yes.
Sammy Solomon.
Yes.
Robert Blevins.
Yes.
Gene Esslinger.
Yes.
Randy Bales.
No.
John Neal Scarlett.
No.
Terry Dockery.
Yes.
Robert Tucker.
Yes.
Jimmy Carmichael,
No.
David Seal,
Yes.
Bob Beeler,
Yes.
Barbara Sheets.
Yes.
Yeses have it, 11-4.
Barely did pay.
Next, Commissioner David Seal, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two resolutions to move. Resolution 51 will require the Chamber of Commerce, as a condition of funding, to hold open meetings and abide by the open records laws in the state of Tennessee. Our authority to regulate that is TCA 59109 and 67-4-1403 requires us to use the money that we give this organization for industrial recruitment and tourism. The fourth item that it requires is that any money that we appropriate to them not be shared with any other nonprofit that is not subject to open meetings and open records. And I appreciate the opportunity to discuss this at the work session, so I'll refrain from all that and just hit 4 highlights. This organization has a board of directors that decides the dispensation of taxpayer public funding with the expectation of a return on investment on behalf of Jefferson County. The Chamber of Commerce and their dispensation of public funding make decisions on economic development that has an impact directly on communities and the lives of people in Jefferson County. I think citizens have a right to attend meetings in which decisions are being made that affect their community in terms of development, and I think they have a right to examine the financial records in which their public financial resources are being used to affect their community in terms of economic development. And I do agree with Town Administrator Pigler on one point. These principles are much higher than profit, and they're much higher than tax revenue. Open, accountable government is the highest principle this is based on. We have an opportunity to end the battles between the Chamber and the citizens who deserve to have open access to records and meetings. And I move this for consideration.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? I'm sorry.
Closing.
Certainly.
We'll take 2 minutes. What we're faced with here is a choice between accountability and secrecy, a choice between success and failure. We have the choice of requiring open economic development, which is likely to make our efforts more successful and less confrontational, or the choice of continued secrecy. If we choose the latter, our citizens will only have no choice but to continue their struggle for accountability into the next decade. For the past few years, the Chamber has received considerable funding from Jefferson County, some funding directly from the county coffers, and some funded through EDOC, EDA, all of which has been provided by the county with the expectation of a return on investment. In round numbers, somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 million over the past decade. The Chamber has a board of directors that decide dispensation of those funds. Those meetings are off limits to citizens, and the funds are dispensed without full financial disclosure. And this, of course, would be the genesis behind the open records lawsuit that was just decided in Tennessee Court of Appeals in the favor of the citizens. The public funding appropriated to the Chamber from the occupancy tax is required to be used very specifically, as I mentioned, industrial recruitment and tourism. No source documents are available to the public or to public officials to verify this requirement has been met. One of the most offensive things that the Chamber spends public money on is payments to lobbyists, and it's unclear what those lobbyists are paid to do. These expenses are not itemized on their annual audit report, and that's one of many reasons that I question the content and validity of their audit reports. It's also unclear how much of their lobby expense has been paid by money that's funneled through EDOC, EDA. That alone should be grounds for this county to require open records and open meetings as a condition of funding. The Chamber provides a public function defined as economic development. And finally, the authority to account for these expenses to the receipt level is Article 1 of the United States Constitution. Mr. Chairman, I would, pursuant to Rule 7D and 4C, I would ask for a roll call vote.
Certainly. And Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Todd Catterson.
No.
Steve Douglas.
No.
David Galt.
No.
Donnie Tabor.
No.
Tim Seals.
No.
Sammy Solomon.
Yes.
Robert Blevins.
Yes.
Gene Esslinger.
Yes.
Randy Bales.
No.
John Neal Scarlett.
Yes.
Terry Dockery.
No.
Robert Tucker.
No.
Jimmy Carmichael.
No.
David Seal.
Yes.
Bob Beeler.
No.
Barbara Sheets.
No.
The noes have it. Motion fails. 5-11. Commissioner Seal, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Resolution 52 is a resolution that will charge the Industrial Development Board of Jefferson County with the role of economic development, industrial recruitment, and tourism business development. The authority for it is TCA 753-102. Section 1 recognizes the Industrial Development Board as the primary authority for economic development in Jefferson County, which includes industrial recruitment, tourism, and business development. Just like the previous resolution, it's been discussed at the work session. I'll hit 3 highlights. Citizens will have a direct voice in the process of economic development under this resolution. They'll have access to open meetings. The process will have more credibility and more opportunity for success, and I believe conflict and controversy will be minimized. This resolution will end the battle between the EDA and the citizens that deserve to have open records and open meetings. It will give us a chance to conduct economic development in a way that we can all benefit from and take pride in. I move it for your consideration, and I would ask for a roll call vote under the same 2 rules.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Solomon. Is there any discussion? Mr. Clerk, will you call the, oh, I'm sorry, there is discussion. Commissioner Scarlett.
This development thing here, I think, is going to have a lot of things, but I cannot, in good conscience, support it when I have several of the IDB members that we elected and asked to serve on this thing telling me they do not want it. And they were not consulted in this change. And I think this is a huge change for what we're doing. And when I get that much feedback from the IDB opposed to it, I cannot support it.
Anyone else? Or you want to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to draw a comparison between EDA, the body that's currently charged with economic development, and the Industrial Development Board, the body that should hold that responsibility. I provided each member of this board with a copy of the statute that describes the board authority of the IDB. I also provided that to the Industrial Development Board itself. Again, we're faced with a choice between EDA and IDB for the task of economic development. In the case of EDA, it continues to pursue a policy of closed meetings and closed records. That fact is made evident by the efforts it's made in the court system to remain closed to the public. On the other hand, IDB has always been open to the public, and they've been fully accountable to the taxpayers. The IDB is a board appointed to the county commission and directly accountable to the citizens. EDA, by contrast, operates in secret and it's not accountable to the citizens. For those reasons alone, I believe the IDB is the proper board to hold the responsibility of economic development, including the task of industrial recruitment and tourism as its funding source requires. One half of the EDA board is determined by cash contributions. Both public and private members have testified to this fact under oath in the open records lawsuit, and I'll be glad to furnish copies of that testimony to you if you require it. I'm not aware of any other board in which members purchase a seat and then as a result hold the privilege of dispensing public resources. This arrangement has caused trust issues with the public. By contrast, the industrial board is a body that would not draw the same controversy. In fact, the IDB would have a greater chance of success simply because it's more connected to the public. We need a board that our citizens can fully trust, openly interact with, and work with to construct economic policy that's beneficial for the whole county. We need to adopt a policy on economic development that eliminates the battles that we fought since Jefferson County created EDA nearly 7 years ago. It's been a war between secrecy and accountability. If we fail to bring our development activities out in the open, we face the prospect of continued battles, controversy, and heated argument. Resolution 52 will mitigate this problem. Again, I would ask for a roll call vote pursuant to Rule 7D and 4C. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Todd Kestrich. No. Steve Douglas.
No.
David Galt.
No.
Donnie Tabor.
No.
Tim Seals.
No.
Sammy Solomon.
Yes.
Robert Blevins.
Yes.
Gene Esslinger.
Yes.
Randy Bales.
No.
John Neal Scarlett.
No.
Terry Dockery.
No.
Robert Tucker.
No.
Jimmy Carmichael.
No.
David Seal.
Yes.
Bob Beeler.
No.
Barbara Sheets.
No.
The noes have it, 4 to 12. Motion fails. Next is a motion by Commissioner Russell Turner to refer to Public Service Committee the issue of the noise ordinance. And Commissioner Seal, do you as chair of Public Service Committee accept that?
I do, and in Commissioner Turner's absence, I would move the motion as it's written on the agenda.
Second.
Is there any opposition? Okay, that's referred to Public Service.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. We stand adjourned.